Today we're talking about making our vehicles last. And for myself, I'm putting together a couple of simple maintenance log books that I can keep in the dash of my Tahoe and my truck. Should have done this a long time ago, but hey, better late than never. And as to why it matters us making our vehicles last. Well, these books belong to a friend of mine, co-worker. He lost his job last week. He got laid off, along with a lot of other people. And I don't know how many of you have been paying attention to the news, but there have been a lot of layoffs. Okay, well, this is the beginning of the downward spiral that is economic decline. Okay, so whatever this period in history is going to end up being called in the future, it's beginning right now. For myself, I'm calling it winter is here. That just seems like the perfect metaphor for what's unfolding right now. Okay, and the only questions at this point is how bad is it going to get, and what can we as individuals do about it? What can we do to best protect ourselves for what's happening right now? Okay, and what we can do is we can maintain our vehicles. Our vehicles are a necessity. My grandfather used to say, the only things we actually need are a bed to sleep in, a stove to cook on, a roof over our head, and a vehicle to get back and forth to work. Okay, everything else is a want. All right, so our vehicles are important. And our vehicles and maintaining them was getting expensive, really expensive. Just to have a vehicle serviced now, what, $90 for oil change? I mean, they're going to inspect other things too while they're there, but I mean, that's where we're at for most places. Okay, now how we got here. All right, back, I don't know, what, 80s, 90s, when the oil change places really started getting popular. It was so cheap to go by there and have your oil changed that it got to the point it wasn't worth it for us to change our own oil. Okay, they could change it for what it cost us to go buy the oil and the filter. All right, and then so many of us, well, we never learned how to change our oil because that's how we grew up, was just go by there and have it changed every so many thousand miles. All right, so that's a luxury, having someone change our oil for us. A luxury that previous generations, they didn't experience. Okay, but then luxuries like that, they get us spoiled, and then we forget how to do things. Okay, so normal maintenance. Replacing a seal, this is a good one. A friend of mine at work, he's got a 2012 or 2014 Suburban. And he carried it to the Chevrolet place, had it serviced, and they noticed it had a real small oil leak on the rear main seal, all right, for the crank. Real common problem for Chevrolets. And they told him, well, that could wait a little bit, but at some point he'd need to get it fixed, and it would be $1,600. Okay, I've got that same leak on my Tahoe. I'm getting ready to fix it, so I was just pricing the seals and so forth. And the seal and the gasket needed to fix that is $18. Okay, $18 versus $1,600. And I've called local shops before, and just to get a price, because I knew this was something I needed to get done. And they're talking $800 to $900. $16, $18 versus $800 to $900. Okay, that's a lot of difference there. And all it takes is that seal and me spending a Saturday working on this. It's not going to be fun, but it's doable. All right, but for so many people right now, it's not doable. They couldn't do it. They wouldn't attempt to do it. They wouldn't know where to start. Okay, well, that's part of keeping our vehicles going. And with maintenance, we've got several things with maintenance. Okay, so we've got preventative maintenance. So that's our regular oil changes and every so often changing hoses before they bust and that type of stuff. Then we've got the it broke, I got to fix it changes just to keep it running. And then we've got our deferred maintenance. So this is things that broke and we just, well, I'll get it fixed one day. Well, all of those deferred maintenance things, they add up. And then over enough time, we've got a vehicle that's got all of these things wrong with it. And we start thinking, well, it's just not worth fixing that vehicle. Okay, I might as well get rid of it and go get, something newer without all of these problems. If we'd kept it maintained all along, it would be worth keeping and making it last and so forth. Instead of waiting till everything just adds up over the years. Okay, and then the deferred maintenance stuff also leads to other issues. What if we're doing it ourselves? Usually the reason it gets deferred is we just don't want to go spend the money right now to go have something fixed. We don't want to go spend or aren't able to spend that $1,600 to replace that seal. And then that leak gets worse, the oil leak gets worse, and before we know it, we've blowed the motor because it's low on oil, it's leaking oil. Or coolant leak, same thing. Yeah, that radiator's leaking, but I can just keep adding water until it overheats and we blow a head gasket. Now we got a serious repair. And I'm speaking from experience here, by the way. So I'm not pointing fingers. I've got to do better on my maintenance. Okay, and all of us, we got spoiled back when things were cheap. Okay, so that same seal, that rear main seal, 8 years ago, maybe 7, that was a $100 repair at a local shop. I remember specifically asking the guy how much rear main seal cost to have that fixed, and $100. Okay, so it's gone from $100 at a local shop to $800 or $900 at a local shop and $1,600 at the dealership. Okay, so we got spoiled back when it was cheap, and it wasn't but $100 to carry our vehicle to the mechanic and, hey, fix this for us, and he would do it cheaply. Okay, and this isn't the mechanic's fault. The mechanics, they've got overhead. I mean, they've got to pay property taxes on that expensive building they have, and they've got to buy all of the latest diagnostic tools, and they've got to go to classes to figure out how to keep up with the different things on all of the computerized vehicles. And they're not getting rich turning wrenches. Okay, but they are getting busted knuckles, and it's a tough job. All right, they're earning their money. All right, well, most of us got spoiled not having to do that ourselves, us men especially. Okay, and then we could just pay such a little price to have them do it. Well, it didn't make sense for us to. And then you fast forward 20, 30 years later, and we've got a generation of kids that don't know how to work on cars, that don't know how to do this stuff. Now, not all of them. I mean, there's some youngsters out there that can teach me a lot about this stuff. But I mean in general. Okay, so it's important that we make our vehicles last now. The new vehicles are too expensive. They're not built as well. They cost a fortune to have them worked on because they are so complicated in electronics and all of that stuff. Even the old ones cost a fortune to have them worked on now. But the old ones are easy to work on. And if we've got a good one, all right, every manufacturer, they had good years, they had bad years. If you've got a good year, that was a good model, those are known for lasting. Okay, then if we're doing the maintenance ourselves, we can make a vehicle last a really long time, and we can save a lot of money, and we can have something dependable during very hard times economically. And our vehicles, they're a necessity. Okay, so it's important that they last and that they not break us trying to maintain them. Okay, and then if we can't work on our own vehicles, now that's a bad place to be if you can't work on your vehicle now. Okay, so if you've got an older vehicle and it needs repairs, you would be better off to get a newer vehicle, because carrying it to a mechanic is going to be so expensive. All right, but then you get the newer vehicle, and then all of the things that led to your other vehicle not being maintained and it going downhill, what the next vehicle you get is going to be the same way, because you haven't changed anything you're doing. You just swapped vehicals. And that newer vehicle, once it does need maintenance, it's going to be even more expensive to maintain. Okay, now what happens during all of this cycle when you don't have a job? Okay, we don't know how bad this is going to get. So anyway, the maintenance is important. And as far as how to do the maintenance, there's a lot of great videos out there on YouTube. It's useful to have a maintenance log, something simple. And I've already started writing down in here just when I started doing certain repairs. Okay, so on my truck, I haven't had to do much at all to it, but I did just put a new radiator in it a month ago. Okay, so that's how I know about that part, about that leak all of a sudden gets worse. And all right, except for in my case, I was trying to find that leak. It took it getting worse before I could find it, and it ran hot on me. And we don't ever want our vehicles to run hot on us. Anyway, it's fixed. Okay, now my Tahoe, I'm getting ready for my 250,000 miles tune-up on it. It's almost 260,000 miles on my Tahoe. Okay, so now I have a lot of deferred maintenance, but I did do a pretty decent job of keeping it up. It's still running very well. But I do have those little things that, like the rear main seal, that it needs to be fixed. Okay, so that's something I'm going to dive into personally over the next few videos. And one of the things I'm doing with my log here, okay, so I've got all of the different things that I have fixed and when. And something that just occurred to me is I need to write down what parts I've used also. Parts are important. We'll talk about that later on when we get to choosing parts, because there's cheap parts, there's quality parts, and it's hard to know which is which now. But anyway, okay, so my old Tahoe had to rebuild transmission in 2011. Yeah, I've been driving it 16 years. It had 135,000 miles on it then. Those transmissions were known to, that was the weak point of that particular model. Okay, carried it to a great transmission shop locally. They put in better clutches, beefed up some things that needed to be beefed up, like the sun gear in it. And anyway, so it's done real well since then. Plus, it wasn't that expensive back then to rebuild a transmission. It's gone up since then. Okay, I did an intake manifold gasket at 230,000 miles, knock sensor and harness, cleaned injectors, new valve cover gaskets while I was in there. And see, last month I did a water pump. I need to add this to here. But I've also got a lot of other things that I need to fix. Okay, so I got that rear main seal on here, front end bushings and ball joints. That's coming up. Changed my transmission filter and the gasket. I'm getting ready to do a complete tune-up on it. So again, the 250,000 mile, 250,000 mile service on it, that's gonna be extensive. Okay, and most of you aren't gonna get into all of that, and that's fine, but for the simple stuff, just your oil changes. That's where your user manual comes in. Pull this out of your glove box. Almost every vehicle's got one, and in this case, if I turn to chapter 7, page 24, it's got all of my fluids listed on my engine oil. That's the very first one. The American Petroleum Institute certified for gasoline engines, starburst symbol of the proper viscosity to determine the preferred viscosity of your vehicle's engine. See engine oil in the index. Okay, so I can look it up, but it's also on my oil cap in the engine. All right, it's got all fluids listed here. All right, well, when I go to do my maintenance, anything you're not sure about, you can easily look up a video on how to do it, but you're going to need to have your fluid there, maybe a seal or something like that. So this helps to plan ahead. Okay, and that's something so many of us don't do now, myself especially, since we got so spoiled being able to just go have it serviced wherever. All right. For some of you, you might still want to do that, but for myself, it's time for me to start doing all of my own maintenance. So anyway, I hope this is helpful. I hope this really gets some of you thinking about servicing your own vehicles. And for those of you that have been servicing yours all along, good job. I said last time I'm on a maintenance kick right now, and that was before I found out my friend got laid off. Okay, I'm motivated at the moment, and I do not have time to do this, and I know most of you don't. We're all busy these days. Okay, for myself, I'm in the middle of remodeling a house. Okay, been on this for 2.5 years. Well, actually, I'm close to finished. But anyway, this why I have so many problems with my vehicles is maintenance got put off for 2.5 years. I can't put it off any longer. Okay, and I've been worried this whole time on the house. I've been worried about the bottom falling out of the economy before I get it finished. All right, well, I think I've been right to worry. I came this close to losing my job this week while I'm in the middle of this with the house. Okay, I kind of need a paycheck right now. We all do. But hopefully this will get some of you motivated to want to do some maintenance on your vehicles to make sure you keep them up. I think that's going to be really important going forward. I think it's important right now. We're past the point of things might get bad, and we're to the point of things are bad. Just how much worse are they going to get? And be thinking about the luxuries. Okay. Luxuries will destroy us. And so many of us now, we don't realize how dependent we've become on mechanics, repairmen, things that in the past that people knew were a luxury. My grandpa didn't go to a mechanic. My grandpa was a mechanic. Anyway, just some stuff to think about. And God bless and have a great day.